Season 1 of MAZ Mondays is sponsored by Rewind Collectibles. Link in the description, the best retro gaming shop in the UK. Jesus Christ! What were you doing? David, help me! Hi guys, welcome to episode 2 of season 1 of the all-new MAZ Mondays. Today we're going to be talking about this absolute beauty of a console, the Atari Jaguar. For anyone who doesn't know, the Jaguar was released in the 5th generation of games consoles and went on to dominate the industry for a number of years.
Total fabrication. It never happened.
Well, okay, it didn't dominate, but at least it had some fantastic games.
It's false. It never happened.
Okay, so the games weren't great, but at least it had a fantastic controller.
Fiction. It's an urban legend that never happened. No way.
Okay, so it wasn't the powerhouse console that we were all promised at the time. But let's take a closer look at what the Atari Jaguar did bring to the table. The Jaguar's history actually stretches back to 1847, when Sir John Jaguar founded the Jaguar Corporation in rural Shropshire. Initially as a manufacturer of vintage tractors and bikes, the company eventually moved to producing the Jaguar's patented flying machines, which they named the Travelling Wilburys. During the First World War, the Jaguar Corporation's machines were also used by the British Army for mine clearance and reconnaissance. Oh, 1 second. Hello?
Oh hi mate, it's Ben from the Grumpy Retro Gamers.
Hi mate, I'm actually just in the middle of a video.
Yeah, I just heard all of that. I'd just like to point out that all of that is complete bollocks. You've literally just made all of that up.
Yeah, but it would be cool if it was real though, wouldn't it?
Why don't you do something useful, like tell them all about the great exclusive titles for the system?
Like what? Name 3.
Well, there's...
I mean, they were exclusive titles.
Yeah, but they were fucking awful.
Okay, so the games weren't great, but let's take a look at the Atari Jaguar itself. The Atari Jaguar was seen as Atari's big comeback after largely sitting out the 4th generation of consoles, outside of the release of the handheld Atari Lynx in 1989. Touted as the first ever 64-bit console by the company,
We got you.
and utilising the tagline "do the math," it's unfortunate that most games didn't use anywhere near the full extent of the console's potential processing power, and for that reason, we'll never truly know what games could have been produced had the console been more successful. The console features a controller that gets a lot of stick for being far too big, but I don't agree with that at all. It's actually surprisingly comfortable in your hands, and in this part here, you can put overlays that correspond with certain buttons for certain games. It's ironic that the buttons read CBA though, because I already can't be arsed with this review. What's next? It also sported a CD add-on that sits on top of the console, making the machine look like something else, though I can't quite put my finger on what. The Jaguar CD add-on had a massive 11 games released for it, and unfortunately, the console itself was discontinued after 3 years, having sold around 100,000 units worldwide. Okay, so we can all agree that the Atari Jaguar didn't quite set the world alight, but I think it's only fair that we take a real look at the games on the system. I know, I'll call Alan from Sorax Space, you'll know what to do.
You've reached Sorax Space, you lucky devil.
Alan, you sexy beast. It's Mark from MAZ Gaming, just doing a bit of a review of the Atari Jaguar. Just wondered if you had any thoughts.
Ah, yeah, the Jaguar. Remind me, does that have any RPGs on it?
I don't think it does actually, no.
Any horror games?
None that I can think of.
Adventure games?
Yeah, again, no.
Yeah, not asked then, mate.
Rude. Up first, Trevor McFur in the Crescent Galaxy is a horizontal shooter developed by Flare 2, and for me, this game epitomises everything that is wrong with the Jaguar. First of all, the name, Trevor McFur. Trevor McFur. I love the idea that a group of people sat around trying to think of a cool sounding name for the hero of this epic space adventure, and eventually settled on Trevor. I mean, what did they turn down? Ian McFluff? Gary McHairy? Pete McFleece? Trevor, for God's sake. The game was rushed out as a launch title, and you can tell that the lack of development time caused real problems here. I can't even imagine the face of a poor kid who received the Jaguar for Christmas, packed in with Cybermorph, and was then handed this to go with it. The graphics are actually pretty nice, it's colourful, and there seems to be some semi-decent choice of weapons. What I do have a real issue with though is the lack of music, which seems to be a running theme on the Jaguar. It just smacks of laziness for me. The sound effects too aren't great at all, which means you're stuck with silent and some pretty poorly recorded pew pew noises for the entirety of the game. Let's look at this few seconds of me playing the game here. Okay, and now let's have a look at the same few seconds of footage with some good music behind it. Does it fix the problems? Absolutely not, but it definitely helps. As a fan of the horizontal shooting genre, I'm actually pretty appalled by this one. Atari rushed the development, so I'm not blaming the devs themselves, but this is absolutely one to avoid. Up next we have White Men Can't Jump, a 2-on-2 basketball game published by Atari in 1995. Now, this game was based on a film of the same name starring Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, but as far as I can tell, it features absolutely nothing from the film in the game, which I'm not sure is a bad sign for the film or the game. Now, I am going to shock you all here when I say that I actually didn't hate this one. Though, that's not to say it's a good game. But as someone who has absolutely no interest in basketball whatsoever, I actually thought it was quite playable. This features digitised graphics which were all the rage at the time and sees you take on various teams for prize money. The controls aren't great and I found myself somehow missing shots from point blank range, but I will say that that could be because I'm quite shit at the game. It does have an element of pickup and playability though, as I found myself within a few rounds actually winning and quite enjoying it. Now, I've heard other reviewers talk about this game as if it's the worst thing to happen to Jaguars since Deforestation, so maybe it's just my lack of basketball knowledge shielding me from the truth. Who knows? For me, it's a solid 6 out of 10 and one I'll certainly play again. Who else can I call? Mean Machine Dean, he's got an Atari Jaguar. He'll talk us through all the games on the system.
Time for you to end. 12 kilograms. That should do it. Oh. Yeah. Hello?
Dino!
Oh, hi Mark. How are you?
Just doing a bit of a review on the Jaguar. Just wondered if you had any thoughts.
Oh, you'd like some comments about this? Well, I can certainly give you some comments on this. Firstly, it was designed by somebody who I mean, it has all the aesthetics of it also looks like you would get out of a Christmas cracker. And to be honest, I've had more enjoyment out of that says something. The back of it looks like, well, it looks like it would fall apart in about 10 minutes of touching it. And to be honest, it wouldn't be surprising if already dead. Now, let's move on to the other great component of this wonderful, wonderful console, which happens to be this pile of this has got written all over it. Yes, in fact, the other thing it has written on it is the actually stand for no. It's what can't be asked, because playing on this console is an absolute bag. So, as far as I'm concerned, this whole entire thing can f*** off.
Okay, so Dean's not a fan. So not everyone has been glowing in their review of the Jaguar, but it did have some genuinely standout titles. One game in particular is still spoken about in gaming circles to this day, a game that was revolutionary in its approach to gameplay, graphics and design. No, not the one you're all thinking about in your heads, we'll get to that later. I'm talking of course about Power Drive Rally. So yeah, I get it, you're probably expecting me to talk about Tempest 2000 or Doom or Rayman, but actually my favourite game on the system by a mile is actually Power Drive Rally. Now, I may be exaggerating when I say that it's the best game on the system, but the critics didn't disagree, with Power Drive Rally being named Best Jaguar Game of the Year in 1995 by Video Games and Computer Entertainment magazine. Featuring courses across several countries and cars from brands such as Ford, Vauxhall, Toyota and Fiat, there's lots of options that give it some real replayability. There's also a few different game modes as you progress through the game, including skill tests and special stages. Honestly, one to definitely pick up for any Jaguar owner. It's just so far ahead of other racing games on the system such as Club Drive. Club Drive literally looks like it was made by a sarcastic teenager on Microsoft Paint for a dare. Seriously, look at it. Just look at it. Awful. Another game well worth a mention, Wolfenstein 3D. If you like your Doom games with a side order of Nazis, this one has got you covered. Now for me, the Atari Jaguar version is probably the best version of Wolfenstein 3D out there. There's something just oddly charming about shooting Nazis in the face and hearing them scream Achtung over and over. It's probably the only game as well where I'm actually quite happy to be able to shoot a dog in the face. Seriously, video game companies, please stop making me shoot dogs in the face. What is wrong with you? There's tons of weapons to choose from as you explore the levels, and this is probably one of the crowning jewels of the Atari Jaguar library, but having said that, it's probably not actually the best first-person shooter on the console. Interesting. Okay, so this is the one that you've all been waiting for. Alien vs Predator is the standout title on the system. I've never actually played it myself, so I've managed to grab a copy off eBay. This is exciting. Jesus fucking Christ! Jesus! Jesus Christ! What were you doing? David, help me! Alien vs Predator was the killer app for the Atari Jaguar. All we need to play is either an alien, a predator, or a colonial marine, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. The aliens can impregnate a marine when killing them, and if you do that, then you'll respawn there if you die. The predator can of course go invisible, but for me the marine is the best character as shooting things with guns in this game is so damn satisfying. This also gives the game a huge replayability factor, as each race has their own unique tasks and quests. As the Predator, the goal is to kill the alien queen, and I have to say, Predator feels a little bit OP in this game. The guy's a brick shithouse who can just take a ton of punishment, and in this mode I can usually get at least to the last level. Playing as Alien, your aim is to free the queen and protect her at all costs. With the Marine, it's more about just getting out of there in one piece, hitting the self-destruct button just before the door hits your arse on the way out of the ship. Either way, whichever one you choose will be a ton of fun and it's super challenging. This isn't your typical first-person shooter though. It's genuinely difficult where ammo and keycards are concerned, especially as the Marine, and I find it's almost like a horror game in parts, although maybe not quite. This definitely deserves the title of Killer App, as it's so far above and beyond any other first-person shooter in this generation. It even stands up today, and it's probably just about as close as we'll ever get as to seeing the real power of the Jaguar, and what could have been. I've been Matt from MAZ Gaming. Please do like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.